snacking, which is one of the main reasons that we have such an obesity and overweight epidemic here in the United States, is not normal. As a matter of fact, snacking can be tied to a particular time in the 1970s when the food industry deliberately made snacking into a thing. If you want to lose weight and you're dealing with excess weight, snacking is not a good idea. And again, it's not even normal. What you need to do is either eliminate or significantly reduce snacks. Now, let's get into this. So, I was listening to a podcast, one of my favorite podcasts, Huberman Lab. He's interviewing a professor named Michael Easter, a professor at University of Nevada. And he explained how snacking as a thing to do was deliberately introduced in the 1970s by the food industry. Now, he mentioned that there was a particular person, he didn't mention a name, but he mentioned that a particular person actually really kind of like came up with a concept I'm going to explain in a second. So, around the 70s, people were doing 3 meals a day. Now, I've talked before about how 3 meals a day was something that actually came out of the Industrial Revolution, which was late 1800s, to the early 1900s when that became a thing. People didn't really snack before then. Snacking wasn't really a thing. Just the 3 meals a day. Now, this particular individual in the food industry, there was no name given, but he came up with what was referred to as the 3 pillars of snack success. Because again, snacking wasn't a thing, and the time in between meals was untapped relatively because people just didn't do like that. They didn't eat snacks like that. So these 3 pillars that were essentially created for snacking success were: one, value; two, variety; and three, velocity. As far as value, a snack was valuable if it was low cost and it was quick to acquire quick satisfaction. Variety, as the second pillar, meant you know a lot of different kind of flavors, a lot of intensity to flavors. So very salty, very sweet, those type of things. And then velocity, it could be eaten very quickly. And basically, what Dr. Easter referred called this was the scarcity loop, which is actually something related even to gambling, something else that he studies. But basically, it's something that, at least this part of the scarcity loop is something that's very quickly repeatable, kind of like a slot machine. You can keep on pulling the crank again and again and again and again, and which means that snacking, this the nature of it, in the food industry and all the different kind of snacks and things that we have is somewhat akin to gambling. If you think about how quickly it's able to be done, you can keep on popping the chips. Like the just, bet you can't eat just one concept. You know, keep on popping the M&Ms, keep on popping the Skittles, the chips, the whatever. Okay. Now, check out how this is kind of like how this coincides with the obesity epidemic. Okay, so the obesity epidemic, if you ever study it, started in the 1970s as well. And according to a study that I've linked to in the description, approximately 1976. So apparently, in the years 1976 and 1980, obesity was at 15% of the population. Keep in mind this: obesity is a subset of overweight. Okay. So whereas obesity, I believe, is a body mass index of, I want to say, over 25, obesity is a subset of overweight with where the body mass index is over 30. So what I'm saying is we're not even including the percentage of people who are generally overweight. So 15% of the population was obese between 1976 and 1980. By the time you get to 1988 to 1994, that 15% obesity went up to 23.3% obesity. Okay. So it didn't jump quite 10%, but it was close. Fast forward from 88 to 94 up to 99 2000, obesity rate went up to 30.9% of the population. Obese, remember, that's a subset of overweight. Okay. Now, again, snacking became a thing in the 70s. That's when it became a thing. And it just so happened that as we went from the 70s to the 80s, you start to see what appears to be like almost like an exponential, somewhat exponential growth of obesity in this country. If you look at the obesity rate in more modern recent times, in 2024, and I'll link to this too, the obesity percentage in our population was 40.3%. 40.3%. Okay. So it started climbing late 70s and it's grown ever since from 15% in 76 to 40.3% in 2024. Okay. 40%, 40.3% of the population. Now keep in mind, again, obesity is a subset of overweight. If I'm not mistaken, the last time I checked, the overweight rate in our country, it was like 3/4 of our population, almost 75% of the population being overweight. That is a crisis. That is just, but again, one of the main reasons it appears, at least from what I see, is the introduction of snacking, okay, by the food industry. So I'm saying all that to say this. Again, if you want to lose weight, you have excess weight, reducing, significantly reducing, or eliminating snacks is something that you need to do. You got to do it. Eating between meals, again, didn't become normal until roughly 50 or 60 years ago, roughly 50 years ago. That is very significant. Even when I think about my grandparents, I can't even think of them snacking, or at least not snacking like that. So drinking drinks, sodas, and tea, and all these kind of things that have a lot of sugar, and eating snacks, candies, and chips, and all these things with a lot of salt and just processed carbohydrates and stuff. This is not a normal thing. Okay, and this really makes me think a lot about fasting, um, which is another thing that when you think about how we eat from morning to night and whatnot, filling the nighttime even with meals and different things like that. Snacking, I mean, not snacking, but fasting is another way that we're kind of like um, another strategy, at least these days, for combating excess food consumption. We're simply eating too much, and we're eating foods that are literally addictive. They are addictive. So, what you and I need to do is to be intentional about what we're doing. The food industry may make things hyper palatable, very accessible, and whatnot. But what you and I have to do is, if we really want to be at a healthy weight, if we want to be healthy overall, then we have to be very intentional about the choices that we're making, because these things are literally made to be addictive. This blew my mind about snacking. I didn't know this prior to today. So kudos to Michael Easter and the Huberman Lab podcast for bringing this out. Hopefully, this speaks to somebody, and hopefully, you make some changes based on this video. Have a good one. As we get older, it becomes increasingly important to maintain and build muscle. Muscle helps you burn fat, stay mobile, and can contribute to longevity. However, many people have no idea how to work out to build muscle. My mini workout series on Patreon provides you with my body weight mini workout video library. These workouts use little to no equipment, which means that you can do them in the privacy of your own home. They start at beginner level and progress from there to ensure you continue to see results. Every workout is a full body workout, hitting chest, back, legs, and glutes, as well as other muscles in between. Become a patron today and receive access to my series of mini workouts, plus access to a digital copy of my book, 8 Weeks to Transform Your Diet and Your Health. By combining the workouts with healthy diet changes, as outlined in my book, you'll definitely be on your way to weight loss, improved health, and visible results. Join me at patreon.com/SeanB2B Fitness today.